Creating a subtractive sculpture by carving can be very challenging, especially if the material you're working with is hard. I'm going to show you how to turn a block of ivory soap into a three-dimensional sculpture. By using soap, you're using something that is soft, easy to carve, and inexpensive, not to mention clean. Before you begin carving, you will need a sketch that is the approximate size of your bar of soap. What I did was I traced my bar of soap onto a piece of paper and then drew my sketch on top of that. After cutting it out, I placed my drawing on one side of the soap. Next, I picked up my needle tool, which is a ceramic tool, and I transferred my drawing onto the soap by gently poking a dotted line on all of the lines that I wished to transfer. When finished, I lined up my drawing for side 2. Notice how I am now going to be using the back side of my sketch when transferring my drawing. It is essential that you double check to make sure that your sketch direction matches from front to back. So check that the feet are both the same on both sides, that the head, the ears, whatever it is that you have drawn, it needs to match perfectly from front to back, so that when you start to actually carve and remove pieces of soap, you are then just leaving behind in the soap block that sculpture that you are wishing to make. Okay, so you can see now that I'm just drawing over that dotted line. So I'm creating an outline of my animal, and I'm doing this on both the front side and the back side. And when I'm finished with this outline, I will be ready to begin carving. Every block of stone has a statue inside it, and it is the task of the sculptor to discover it. This quote is by Michelangelo, and what he means is, when carving, you're going to remove everything other than that statue that you have in your mind that you wish to create. So, begin by cutting away the excess soap, the soap outside of that outline that you drew. You can see that I am using a ceramic fettling knife, but you could use a simple butter knife. You just don't want to use a knife that is serrated because this is going to make more indentations into the soap that you're going to have to later smooth out. Take your time with this and don't try to remove too much at once. Of course, if you do cut off a piece that you didn't wish to take off, it is pretty much impossible to reattach it. So you're going to just need to be careful, work slowly, and just pay attention to what you're doing. There are all different kinds of tools you can use for this. The loop tools that are also made for pottery are also fantastic for carving in greater detail and with greater control. So after removing the large portion of the excess, I start going back and forth between the fettling knife and the loop tools. And this helps me the most. Sometimes I'll use the needle tool again too to remove just small areas. Whenever I get a lot of little soap crumbs and pieces on my plate, I'll just take that to the garbage can and I'll just shake it out so I have a fresh start. You don't want to have a bunch of soap in your way. It just makes it harder for you to tell what you're doing. You can also brush off the soap crumbs from your sculpture as you work so that you can see more clearly where you're at. Go ahead and watch me for a minute just to see how I continue to remove the soap. At this point, again, I'm still just trying to remove that excess so that I can reveal more of the shape of my animal. So once you're finished removing the majority of the excess soap, you're then going to need to carve off the soap brand's label. I'm using the loop tool for that, and I'm not digging in far at all. I'm just carving off enough on both sides to remove where it says ivory. Now at this point, my animal is starting to be revealed, but it's very flat looking. Both sides kind of have a flat top and bottom, and I want to add dimension. So, referring to my sketch, I'm going to use that loop tool again to carve and round out the sculpture. I want to make this look like a round animal, and I want to show where the neck comes in. I want to show where the tail is not as thick as the body. I want to show the different feet, and so I'm going to use that loop tool to carve away areas, and again, to round everything out so this doesn't look so much like a cube, but the body looks more round like a sphere. As I work, I look at all sides of the sculpture. I constantly turn it in my hand. The more you hold and touch the soap, the softer it actually feels, and it makes it a little bit easier to carve. So hold the soap, keep it turning, and really, again, look at it and carve it from all directions. So at this point, I'm just working on my smaller, fine details, and I'm just trying to work on my craftsmanship, check to see where it needs improvement, where it's smoother, where it's more rough. One thing you could do to help you smooth out your sculpture, if you're looking for a really smooth, glossy finish, is to use a little bit of water. You could put some water in a cup, dab your finger into it, and then run it over where you want it more smooth. Make sure you're always discarding your soap crumbs by taking your plate to the garbage can. And when you're all finished, we are going to try to paint these too. Adding acrylic paint will help preserve your soap sculpture.